You're listening to international investment advisor Doug Goldstein on the Goldstein on Gelt show, the financial show where we'll talk about how you can make the most of your money. With all the confusing financial chatter bombarding you each and every day, Goldstein on Gelt will give you the practical information you want and need about living a financially stable life. Here's your host, money maven Doug Goldstein.
Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have on the Goldstein on Gelt show Alana Newhouse, who is the editor-in-chief of Tablet Magazine, which you can find out about at tabletmag.com. Alana, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
So the Jewish news marketplace seems kind of crowded. What is it that made you guys get into that?
Well, actually, I think that it's somewhat of a misconception that it's more crowded than it's been, in part because most Jewish communities had local newspapers. Many of those newspapers have shut down, unfortunately, in the last decade or decade and a half, partially because of the pressures on the print newspaper marketplace. So actually, in some way, there is an argument to be made that there is less news from the Jewish world being produced. Of course, then there are many more websites and many other places that have cropped up, but I don't necessarily know that it's a definite that for sure one can say that actually the marketplace is more crowded now than it was 15 or 20 years ago.
Okay, so what's the niche, or what area are you trying to cover?
So the interesting conundrum for us is that we really feel that there's some capacity that the web enables to cover local Jewish news, but do it in a national and international space. I think for us it's very interesting to be able to publish a magazine online that allows people in different Jewish communities to see what's going on elsewhere. So I like the idea that we'll have a story about the Jewish community in Detroit next to a story about something going on in France or Israel, and that people from all of those communities are reading about everywhere else. To me, there's something about that cross-pollination of knowledge and news that, particularly for the Jewish community, which is still still very heavy in the diaspora, as a diaspora community, I think there's something very enriching about it.
Do you think that people in France are interested in what's going on in the communities in Detroit?
Oh, I can tell you they are, because of the wonders of Google Analytics. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So that must have been a pretty hot story. Okay, we'll look that one up later. So what would you say is the goal of the publication?
The goal of the publication is a journalistic goal. We are dedicated to publishing news and analysis and criticism that caters to what Jewish life, to Jews right now, and that reflects Jewish life as it exists. I mean, the point of journalism in many ways is to be a mirror for people, to show them the way that their world is functioning, both the parts of it that they can't see because they're involved in it, and the parts of it that they can't see because those, either it's the halls of political power or financial power or cultural power, are closed off to them. And the idea is, if they like what they see in that mirroring back, then they can rest easy and just enjoy life. If there are parts of it that they don't like, or parts of it that they feel are problematic for them, or problematic for their children or their future or their community, the idea behind it is just that they need to know that. And that they need to know that in order to know, this is just a general journalistic principle, they need to know that in order to know who to vote for, to know who to complain to know what kind of community activism or social activism they want to engage in.
So you mentioned before the area of finance, as this is a finance show, Goldstein on Gelt. So we really combined it all. We got the Gelt and the Jewish stuff. What sort of financial news do you try to cover?
It's not one of our primary beats, only because there are, for us, there are many, as you know, there are many business publications out there that cover it, and also the particularly Jewish angle on finance and money is complex, and we don't want to be vague about it. So if, for example, last week Forbes magazine, or I think the Israeli edition of Forbes magazine, published a list of the top Israeli billionaires. That's an interesting thing for us to cover, and to cover how those people do business, what kind of businesses they're engaged in, just to analyze a list like that. But we also want to cover how philanthropy works, different ways in which the Jewish community is organized. There's the federation system, Jewish charities, and major players in the Jewish philanthropic world and the projects of the Jewish philanthropic world, things like, for example, like Birthright. Mm-hmm. So that's really the way in which money, we cover money sort of from the angle of how it flows inside of Jewish ideas and Jewish communal life.
Got it. But not the investments that Jews are looking at today. We're talking with Alana Newhouse, who's the editor-in-chief of Tablet Magazine, which is one of the newer players in the Jewish news marketplace. But it really covers a broad spectrum of ideas, and it's not just a Jewish magazine per se. How difficult or easy was it to establish the publication?
Well, we're part of a nonprofit organization that is devoted to nurturing Jewish culture. So for us, that's an incredible opportunity that we had to be part of what is a really fantastic organization called Nextbook. And Nextbook has been around for a while, and they publish a really fantastic and challenging and brilliant line of books called the Jewish Encounters series, edited by Jonathan Rosen. So they were in this business to begin with. So we publish under their auspices.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In the future, do you anticipate broadening the spectrum? You've referred to it as a magazine, an online magazine. Do you think you'll either be involved in more podcasts or TV or even print?
Well, we do. We actually the tablet was part of Tablet essentially is a relaunch of Nextbook, the organization, Nextbook's former website. Their former website actually had a terrific podcast starting since before Tablet was launched, which is nearly 4 years ago. That podcast is we still publish it. We produce it. A very, very brilliant producer named Julie Subrin produces it. We publish a podcast we produce a podcast every week, and that podcast actually, our first year in existence, Tablet's first year in existence, won a National Magazine Award.
Wow.
And so we're doing more video, led by a terrific video producer named Tracy Levy. So I think that we definitely are committed to other forms of storytelling and other formats.
Mm-hmm. So the way the Internet has changed, it's allowed anyone today to set up an online newspaper, TV, radio show, magazine. How do you feel that's affecting the quality of what's out there?
It's obviously affecting it both negatively and positively. I think that there are voices that the Internet has enabled to be heard that have been important and that are great. I know that there are writers who we have writing for us that we never would have, we may not have ever met or known, but they are commenters on our site. So the Internet is a wonderful place, and the openness is amazing. The obvious problem is that journalism is a field, it's a profession that has necessary skills involved. Mm-hmm. They are skills that you are supposed to acquire in the process of practicing journalism. Those skills have to do with interviewing. They have to do with writing. They have to do with knowing the principles of the posture that you take.
Of course, it's only fair to say that you're biased because you have a graduate degree in journalism from Columbia.
By the way, I was, that's funny. I was just about to say it has nothing. You don't have to go to school to learn it.
Okay.
But you do have to learn it. You do have to apprentice somehow.
Sure.
The old model, which is still the best model, was to apprentice with another journalist, to be with other journalists who knew how to do it. Most people don't go to journalism school, and they don't need to.
Okay.
The bigger issue is that I don't think that journalism is practiced when you sit in your living room. Mm-hmm. Journalism is, at its core, about going out and seeing and experiencing other people, places, and things. And if you don't do that, there's something, or if the entire production of journalism gets weighted against that, then I do think that something gets lost.
And do you think that's really where it's heading now, or is there going to be some sort of...
I think that that's where it headed in the past. I actually am seeing some very heartening signs that it's moving back in the other direction. Those are nascent and they're starting, and I don't really know yet. But I definitely see some good signs that people are investing in what I consider to be the heart of journalism, real reporting.
Okay. I think it's important. I think it's important that there is some measure of quality. The democratization that the Internet has allowed to let more voices be heard is great, but I think ultimately I'm sort of expecting that in the next 5-10 years we'll begin to see people flock towards the higher quality journalism, and I'm guessing that you guys are going to be on that list. Alana,
I hope so.
We're just about out of time, but in the last few seconds, just tell me, how can people follow your work?
Well, we would love for everyone to visit us at www.tabletmag.com, and it wouldn't only be my work. In fact, my work's not nearly the best of the stuff that you can find there. The staff is just really tremendous. So.
All right. Okay. Alana Newhouse from Tablet Magazine, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.